Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another podcast of e-commerce growth map by Lion Media. So, guys, if you're new to the podcast, Lion Media, we're a performance marketing agency focusing on D2C, and so we help a variety of clients across different industries. So, from jewelry to fashion, which is apparel, from supplements and other industries too as well. So we recently launched this podcast to essentially just talk about everything D2C, everything e-commerce, right? And so because a lot of our clients ask us questions, always ask us questions, right? And so we kind of wanted to essentially launch this podcast. So one, our clients can tune in and essentially get a lot of their question answered, right? In addition to, obviously, if you're new in the space or if you're just looking for some strategies, just looking for, okay, what are other people doing in the DTC space? This is also the podcast from you guys. My name is Frank Kinney. I'm the CEO and head of paid media at Lion Media. And so in today's conversation topic, I want to talk about a specific metric that, we're constantly having to essentially educate our client about it. Not that it's a bad thing, right? It's because I think this specific metric that we're going to talk about has just been overemphasized, just over talked about, to where people or founders or operators look at this metric as the holy grail to the company, right? And this metric, maybe you already know what it is. It's a specific metric that is an indicator, right, of how successful a campaign may be in a specific ad account. You don't look at this metric of how good is my company doing? You look at this metric how is this campaign performing? And this metric is called return on ad spend, ROAS. Right? A lot of you guys talk about, we want to get a 5x or 10x ROAS, just something crazy sometimes, right? And the reality is a lot of you guys may not even need that high of a ROAS in your ad account in order for your business to be, to be in a good space to be successful, right? You really don't, but people want crazy ROAS, we want a 10x ROAS or whatever it may be, right? And so we're going to break this down in this particular method. So we're going to talk about why ROAS is not the holy grail of the business. And we're going to talk about the metrics that really your business should be looking at to see if it's profitable or how well the business is, right? So those are the particular things that we're going to talk about. And then we might talk about some bonus things as well, right? So ROAS, as I mentioned before, it's a particular metric, right? The return on ad spend. And you figure that out by dividing the revenue, how much revenue you're getting from a particular campaign or from your whole ad account, how much revenue divided by how much you spent. And that will give you your return on ad spend. Again, how much revenue, either from a campaign or from the whole account, divide that by how much you spend on a specific campaign or an ad account. Now, obviously, if you're looking at the Meta dashboard or Google dashboard, wherever, obviously they calculate that for you, right? And so a lot of the time, so people are okay, cool, we're at a 3x, right? Or we're at a 4x. Okay, our business is in a good position, right? No, not necessarily, right? Again, that specific metrics is just an indicator that, okay, this campaign may or may not be performing well, right? Now, let's dive into why it may or may not be performing well. Because when you look at the ROAS, right? Say you're at a 3x and you're happy. Okay, cool, our business is in a good spot, right? Cool. You're at a 3x ROAS. What about when you take into account, okay, how much am I paying to manufacture the goods that people are purchasing, right? In addition to that, how much are you paying to get that product to the customer? What is the shipping cost associated with that, right? In addition, it's okay, how much am I paying transaction fees or credit card fees, right? When somebody places an order through Shopify or whatever platform or that you're using for whatever e-commerce platform that you're using. When you take that into account, a lot of you guys may realize that, okay, we're actually losing money, right? And I didn't even forget about how much the cost of acquisition. When you calculate all of that, you'll realize that, oh snap, we're actually losing every single time a customer is purchasing a product from us, right? Now, obviously, you need some form of dashboard. You need some form of ways to be able to track this across each individual product that you're advertising. You need some way to be able to track this, or else you would think that maybe just getting a 3x return on ad spend, your company is successful, while you're actually in the red and you're constantly losing money, right? And the sad news is that oftentimes a lot of brands don't realize this when it's too late. Okay, we we keep losing our bank accounts. It's constantly in the negative each and every single month. Like, what's going on? I thought we had like a 3x ROAS, right? A 3x ROAS doesn't mean, doesn't equate to revenue or doesn't equate to cash in your bank account. It doesn't, right? It doesn't equate to cash in your bank account. And so that's why the ROAS is such a misleading metric, because, and also a lot of amateur, a lot of amateur agencies, right? Part of their biggest appeal is, we'll like scale your ROAS, or, we'll give you like a 5x return on ad spend or ROAS. Okay, like, yes, in reality, it may sound good. Oftentimes, like, they can't necessarily do that, but oftentimes, like, I don't need a 5x ROAS, right? So guys, so like, hopefully this is making sense and you're understanding, right? ROAS it's not that important of a metric, right? It just tells you a little piece of how the business is going. Like, it's like a little piece of the puzzle. And the bigger piece, like the metric that you actually want to be focusing on, right, it's like your contribution margin. Contribution margin. So the contribution margin is essentially, okay, cool. After subtracting, like, somebody purchases a product, okay, cool. It's like $100. To make the math simple, it's $100. How much your product costs. Somebody purchases that. Okay, cool. And then I have to take into account maybe like $20, right? Like, if you have a very like high margin business, $20, which should put your business like at an 80% margin. So $20, subtract that from $100. Okay, cool. You subtracted that. Now, for example, it costs you maybe $10 to get the product, to ship the product to the customers. We'll also include like credit card fees and just like transaction fee into this, right? Cool. So that leaves you at $70. All right. Okay. The next fee that you have to essentially subtract is your cost of acquisition cost, which is like oftentimes in businesses, it's like the most expensive part of this whole ecosystem, right? It's either your COGS, how much you're paying to the manufacturer for that product, or your customer acquisition cost, which is typically going to be like the most expensive to the business, right? So now after you subtract your cost for acquisition, right? Say your cost for acquisition is $50, right? So when you subtract that, you realize that, okay, cool, we're making $30, like, which is 30, like, you're making $30 contribution margin. So you're essentially making a $30 profit from each transaction. Now, if your cost per acquisition is something like crazy high, right? So if you subtract $20 already for like the COGS, you subtract $10 for, for shipping and transaction fee, that'll leave you $70. So say, for example, your cost per acquisition is like $80. Oh, snap. All of a sudden you realize that we're losing $10 for each transaction, right? We're losing $10 for each transaction. And so ROAS doesn't necessarily tell you that. Your ROAS won't tell you that you're losing $10 per transaction, right? You have to look at the contribution margin of each individual product to understand that, oh, snap, we're actually losing money per each transaction. That means that, one, you need to decrease your cost per acquisition for the platform. You need to change your strategy, whether that's like changing different creatives, or just kind of changing like the structure of like your ad account or wherever platform that you're advertising. Like, you need to do something different, or you need to actually reduce your COGS. So that's having to come up with a deal with your manufacturer to lower that that COGS. So that's what you actually kind of need to be focusing more on, and not just the return on ad spend, right? Guys, hopefully this is like something, hopefully this is something you've already been thinking of, and this is something that you're tracking. But if you're not, I'm hoping that this is going to be like the catalyst to, well, cool, I actually need to go back into my account, to the business, and look at each individual product and see what the contribution margin is for each individual product, right? And so I'll add in another scenario over here, not another scenario, but like another piece to this, right? LTV. Obviously, LTV is a very important thing to, a very important metric to track. So it's like CAC and LTV, right? It's okay to have negative contribution margin if, when you look at your LTV, so maybe like on a 60 days or 90 days, you're actually making money, right? It's okay. Let me say that again. It's okay to have a negative contribution margin if you have a high LTV, because that end of the day, when I'm looking at the 60 days or 90 days, we're actually making more money for my customers. Now, it's not okay if your LTV is bad, if your LTV sucks. It's not okay to have a negative contribution margin, right? So those are the two scenarios. You want to have a positive contribution margin if you don't have a great LTV. It's okay to have a negative contribution margin if your LTV it's good when you're looking at a 60 or 90 days. Now, anything just kind of more over like a year, okay, then it kind of gets into like shaky waters. Like, are you actually gonna wait a whole year to make, to profit from this specific customers, right? So then it kind of gets into like muddy waters, because like a lot of different brands, a lot of different companies calculate LTV like using like different time frames. Right? I think for e-commerce, because cash flow is so essential, you can't have I won't say you can't, but I think it'll benefit you to calculate LTV on these specific cohorts. You can look at a 90 days, you can look at 180 days, but like when it gets up to like a year, cash flow is tight. Like you need that money back in the bank account so you can order more inventory. So come up with new product development, things within that scope. Right? So like that's why it's so important, guys. This is gonna be like the end, or this is going to conclude this episode of the Beyond Logic e-commerce growth map podcast, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one, guys. If you guys have any questions, depending on where you're watching this, if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, and you can actually comment or ask us questions, leave a comment, and then we'll get to you guys. Or visit lionmediaad.com, and then you can contact us through there, right? If you need help with that is growing or scaling your DTC brand, or you just want to get like an audit. Just kind of get another look at your ad account. That's also something that we can do for free at no additional cost. Guys, again, we'll catch you guys.